Jet. It's nice to finally meet you. So I read your file, and it says that you've been hearing the voices of angels.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little more about that?
They warn of death and destruction and the end of all humanity, and I'm here to save us all.
And your roommate's worried about this.
My roommate's a fool. He refuses to see the light. I have seen the light, and I have understood all the knowledge of the cosmos.
Did you always hear these voices of angels?
I was once lost and a broken person, and I've made mistakes that I can never remake again.
How long have you lived with your roommate?
Ever since I was old enough to be called a pickle.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
You see, a pickle is launched into space in a spaceship, where it flies to the moon. But the moon is a cold place with no love and no spirits.
Okay, Jet, what do you hope to gain out of therapy?
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I am here to save you. I believe you're a good person, but most of the people here are gonna die.
Do I look like I am dying?
Damnation is all around us. All around us.
I've known Jet Black probably 3.5 years now. He works as a sous chef. He's a fun, outgoing guy. Everyone at work loves him. All the customers really like him. He's very inventive. He's very creative with his work. Recently, however, he's gone a little further with his creativity. I think it was probably maybe 2 weeks ago. He asked me if he could put psychotropic mushrooms. I shot down the idea, obviously. It was very odd. Ever since then, I've just been keeping an eye on him. He hasn't come to work in a few days, though. I'm concerned. I don't know. He didn't call in. I think it was his roommate who called in for him. But yeah, no, he's a great guy. I love him. He's good at what he does. Just a little concerned about what he's doing right now.
How would you diagnose Jet?
From a neuroscientific perspective, we diagnose Jet with bipolar 2.
I would diagnose Mr. Black as someone having problems with substance abuse.
I would diagnose Jet as having bipolar 2. He also suffers with some substance addiction issues.
We diagnose him with bipolar 2, substance abuse, and substance intoxication, and borderline personality disorder.
From a gestalten point of view, bipolar and borderline personality.
We would diagnose Jet for having bipolar 2, borderline personality disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD, substance use disorder, and substance withdrawal disorder.
What do you think is the cause of these issues?
Bipolar 2 is due to low serotonin and high norepinephrine levels in the brain. During a manic episode, norepinephrine levels are extremely high and much of the brain is overactive, while in the depressed state, both serotonin and norepinephrine are very low. So when we were looking at Jet's fMRI scan, we saw that he has heightened activity in the left temporal lobe in his primary auditory cortex, which can be attributed to the hallucinations induced by the bipolar disorder as well. So, with a borderline diagnosis, we think that there is a lower serotonin and some abnormalities in the amygdala function for the patients with borderline. The frontal lobe has lower connectivity, and the lower serotonin levels are also consistent with the diagnosis of bipolar 2. For the substance and intoxication disorder in Jet, because I think he used a lot of the mushrooms. The mushroom, it lingers in your brain for a couple days, weeks, or even months, inducing the mental illness. Hallucinations from the shrooms can also persist even when the user is off the high. And measuring the dosage of the shrooms is also very difficult. Unlike the alcohol, where you are sure the percentage of, for example, something so delicious like a rum, each shroom can vary very great deal.
Two major aspects of Mr. Black's life stood out to me. Early on in childhood, he mentioned that he was really religious and how he rebelled against his parents of his family's religious ideations. And as a behaviorist, my perspective on that would be because his going to their place of worship is not being was not positively reinforced in a way. So growing up to having other stressors, it was easier for him to default into substance.
I think the stress in Jet's life has a major impact on his disorder. When he goes through periods of stress, it can definitely accelerate him into going into phases of hypomania, and it also causes him to kind of use substances more often.
I think a lot of his issues stem from his relationship with his family, mainly his parents and his son. His parents don't approve of his lifestyle choices, and he doesn't get to see his son all that often, resulting in issues of like low self-esteem, which can go into his borderline personality disorder and potentially his substance abuse and intoxication.
Well, in his health chart, we see that 60% of his diet consists of carbs. The bipolar disorder shows that those people tend to crave carbs and sweets because of the low levels observed. So in his browsing history, we see that he searches for podcasts of cooking highs, and he's on Reddit a lot. And that kind of supports the idea of the substance disorders.
Yeah, I don't think you should cook with drugs. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and maybe don't add it into the restaurant dishes.
I would say this all stems from his unstable sense of identity. He is battling trying to please his parents in a collectivistic culture and fit in society's individualistic norms. The cognitive dissonance could be so overwhelming that he goes to escape reality by doing drugs and alcohol. When you eat enough mushrooms, this can induce his bipolar mental illness.
Yeah, so Jet's father is very ashamed of and very upset with Jet for choosing a secular lifestyle. Jet actually has a child outside of marriage and with a woman who's not Muslim. So Jet's lack of validation from his parents as an unworthy child, as well as his ex-girlfriend thinking he's an unfit father, most likely plays a large part in his emotional state.
Noted from the police report team, Jet's ex-girlfriend was awarded full custody of their son.
Perhaps Jet feels so unstable in his close family relationships that has changed his behavior so drastically.
And these distressing relationships could be linked to Jet's bipolar 2, as he has a lack of trust for others, especially aiding in his episode of major depression.
Abdul, Jet's religious leader, also mentioned that Jet used to be a hyperactive child when he was growing up, so that could also raise flags for an attention deficit disorder such as ADHD. Thomas, Jet's roommate, he also mentioned suspicion concerning Jet's bisexuality. Additionally, it could be that Jet is not coming to terms with his sexuality out of fear of further disappointing his parents or putting the relationship with his girlfriend in contention.
It seems to me that many aspects of Jet's life centered around the instability of his family relationships and the lack of acceptance from his family members. This could be causing Jet to feel trapped and start experiencing symptoms seen in bipolar 2 and borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, lastly, looking at his MMPI-2 records, we can see that the two highest scores are actually schizophrenia and hypomania. Just because of his lack of family history, we decided to opt out of diagnosing him as schizophrenic, and we decided bipolar 2 is his best diagnosis. Jet uses psychotropic mushrooms, and he drinks beer and he smokes marijuana.
And the instability and lack of connection with his relationships may have made Jet seek substances to distract himself from his intimacy problems.
This pressure of failing expectations can also be linked to Jet's borderline personality diagnosis. The shame he feels could be tied to his indulgence in the substances as well, corresponding to the substance use disorder. Yeah, so we believe the symptoms of substance intoxication and withdrawal center around just generally the work environment, his family relationships, and his substance use.
How would you treat this illness?
So from a neuroscientific approach, best way to treat bipolar 2 is with an array of medication, like mood stabilizers, antidepressants, anticonvulsants, and antipsychotics.
There's like about 3 to 4 treatment plans, but I think like cognitive behavioral therapy, like within the realms of group therapy sessions, as well as contingency management, would be able to reward him for his ability to resist drug use. So as a behaviorist, I believe that therapy with me and Mr. Black would be able to enhance his ability to resist drug abuse.
I think Jet could really benefit from being more mindful in his day-to-day life. Things like meditation and yoga would tremendously help him slow down his thought process to help him calm down.
Simple diet, exercise, sleep, and practice in moderation.
I think you just should see the positive side of everything. Write a gratitude journal, look at the bright side, look at the sun, and just think of how happy you are.
Yes, so with the gratitude journal, you can actually incorporate that with his sleep schedule. It has to be consistent. The lack of sleep can trigger the mood changes, so yeah, he should also avoid alcohol intakes a couple hours before sleeping.
You should also not care what your parents think. You should live for yourself. Believe in yourself, Jet. I believe in you.
Yes, and I also believe in you too, a healthy diet. It is important to live a lifestyle. For a person with a bipolar disorder, also maybe adding some fruits and vegetables in there would be substantial.
Also, see your son. He is your son. Just go try it. Go build a relationship with him. I also think he should find another positive outlet instead of drugs.
Lastly, for my part, I would say practicing moderation with the substances. If you do decide to take alcohol, maybe, take a glass of wine, maybe just one shot.
I think the relationship he needs to rescue is the one he has with himself. Working on the emotional piece underlying Jet Black's problems, I would treat his illness with getting Jet Black to become more aware, mature, to be more authentic, change his behavior, and learn to self-regulate. Increased and enriched awareness by itself is seen as curative. Without awareness, clients do not possess the tools for personality changes. The only person you can control is you.
Because Jet is a person of color, I would suggest, if possible, for his therapist also to be a person of color. He will benefit most from therapy with someone who can provide insight into the daily challenges that Jet may face. Furthermore, if his therapist were knowledgeable in Islam, that would be even better.
And ideally, Jet's parents should work towards finding level ground with their son. This will go a long way in Jet's life. Also, working on his communication skills with those closest to him may give Jet additional sense of comfort and assuredness. For Jet to work on his social skills through social skills training will help him with creating more positive social interactions.
I would say that he would benefit most from a self-help program, something like Alcoholics or Narcotics Anonymous. Also, abstinence with controlled relapse is an option because that removes the aspect of punishment that goes along with a relapse.
And yeah, that's everything I have to say about that.
A shot of ecstasy.
Yep. Thank you, friends.